We got Avi Schwartz making his debut. I mean, listen, yeah, I'm gonna call you our correspondent. I know you're not on the scene, but if you're coming in for breaking news, this has been a very interesting night for Macs basketball and Macs basketball fandom. We appreciate anybody who's on. We'll take a look. I'll try to pull up the chat here because I'm sure the questions are going to be few and far between. And I want to, we'll say this over and over and over again. We have no news, right? Like what we're here to talk about is sort of reset on the situation, and share. Again, this has been not just the men's night. I had the privilege of being at the women's game, and really, an incredible night there. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short, but this has just been an interesting night of Macs basketball, and the men will be continuing their season, right? They'll be continuing their season on Tuesday, which of course, Avi happens to be Rosh Chodesh Adar, right? It's like it makes sense, right? Adar madness starts. It's not even like we had some. I'm sure people who were like, "Listen, hey, it's Adar, but it's not really Adar, right? We're still the previous month." But if it's Tuesday night, it's Adar. It's the first of Adar.
More than that, it's never quite the end of the Mac season until you get stop the Farmingdale end of February. Other events like a win like that's the real kicker of like what it means for the Mac season.
Oh, it's beautiful. We got some double coverage here. I got to mute.
Great.
Wow,
here.
I'll make sure. I got Mayor on the mute and on the live. Hopefully that's works out. Hopefully you can still hear me.
You're good. I hear you.
So yeah, I think that's the goal here, right? Like, again, this is not, keep saying it over and over again as fans join. I'm going to join the YouTube stream on my phone without sound, just so I can see chats coming in, because I know you're busy doing God's work as always. On the NCSY Shabbaton, my daughter's there. A lot of awesome people are out there, and so that's a good thing, and that will keep happening. Oh, look, I see my face live. So I'm gonna make sure that comes out, and then we'll just see if there's any questions in the chat. We had some comments. I don't know what change the thumbnail means, but hopefully we'll see. We have some messages going on. Please, now I'm looking at the chat, so if anybody has questions, comments, we will try as much as possible to make this work. So hopefully that makes sense, and we have things going on out here. So yeah. Crazy night. Let's reset. Avi, I know we're all over the place tonight. Let's reset. I wasn't there. This is sort of resetting just on what we're hearing in terms of that the Macs did indeed go out tonight. I mean, in terms of the team, made it out to Farmingdale. Fans were out there. The game was, scheduled. I think, as we know, again, there's no speculation, but the facts we know is that this game used to be on a Sunday. It was changed to a Saturday night. Again, whatever that's for.
Do you know when it was changed?
It was changed a little while ago. I remember even, a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, it being on. I don't know exactly when it was changed. I think what we're saying is, I remember looking at the schedule, right, 3 weeks ago, as we always do, just to check the upcoming games. And this game was still on the schedule for Sunday, right? So Sunday at 2 p.m., I believe, still, when we were talking about in late January. So at some point over the last few weeks, it changed on the schedule. Again, this may have been in the works for a very long time. We don't know, and honestly, I'm not sure it matters once that change, is agreed to. Listen, the Macs made their way out there, right? So they expected to play a game tonight. I think as far as speculation goes, that's probably some good speculation, just in terms of the assumption. And we don't know.
They were mentally prepared. I think the thing was they were mentally prepared to play tonight, and they didn't end up playing.
Yes,
I think that's something very hard to get over almost. Kind of get yourself amped up, and then finding out like last second things out of your control that you're not in the end.
Exactly. So, I think, people are just wondering, obviously this was set to be a big game, right? I mean, this was set to be the battle for the number 1 seed in the Skyline Conference. And as we know, in terms of the way it works, is that even if you're the number 3 seed, right, that basically, as far as if everything holds to form, you're only really supposed to have one home game, even as the number 3 seed, because you'll end up playing the number 2 seed, which I believe, again, if everything stays the way it is, no idea, if that's even up for discussion. Again, I'm not going to speculate. But if everything stays the way it is, basically what means is that we've got number, right? You'll have Farmingdale playing against Mount St. Mary's, which should be a walk for them. You'll have number 2 Manhattanville, who's been playing great. They'll be playing Mount St. Vincent, I believe, and so that should be a game for them. Although, again, Mount St. Vincent has played some games tougher than others. And then we'll be playing a tough opponent in St. Joe's Long Island. Again, definitely much tougher than an opponent that we've handled, right? I think we split this season series with them, but definitely handled them the last time out. Have Max available now to play. I'm not sure if he played the first game, but ultimately you have those battles, and then you have a really tough battle 4-5 that anyone can come out with. Where I believe you'll have Maritime hosting the USMMA, right, the Merchant Marine. So again, really good seeds, and it really holds the form. And YU takes Tuesday at the start of Adar. We'll be playing at Manhattanville, right? So close by, a little bit past the Riverdale Bronx area, but playing Manhattanville out there. A good team. Probably I was actually live in person for that game this year. It was really cool. I actually met a lot of parents who were out there, not heavily attended, but really a great game. I think the Macs played one of their best games. So it'll be interesting as we do some playoff previews to re-talk about that show. But tonight, everybody wants to know, what's happening. So like I said, we're not going to speculate, just bringing people, up to speed on what's going on. And we've heard, and this is not, again, speculation. Dave McHugh, who does an incredible job for D3. So, and people may be familiar with him from Hoopsville on D3. Had mentioned that he is, getting the word out or finding out what's happening. He's confirming, the details from both sides. He's double confirmation, like you would do with any story. Dave is an incredible guy and incredible integrity. So a lot of people out there waiting to hear what the word is, and we're not going to give it to them, sadly. But we are going to talk and take questions and. Even talk Max basketball coming up, right? What does the playoffs look like? And then also talk about the women's team and really unfortunate end to the season, but really a lot of promise for what's to come. Talk to some of the players after the game. We can get into sort of the future of the women's basketball team. But Avi, what's on your mind? I know this is, I want to give you the spotlight in terms of, like, we hear a lot from you about Max basketball. We expect to see some things in the in the newspaper in terms of being Twitter famous. But what's going on in your mind?
I mean, tomorrow is actually going to be my first day back at YU in a long time. I remember last year already was December 30th against Illinois Wesleyan, and that was an experience as it was. And I think having the farm sale and Max basketball being the same season before Adar, it's like a really special time of year, and it's great to be on. I try to be a member of the group chat, trying to keep up with what I can. And tonight just happened to work out, And it's always a pleasure to see a good softball commish, and another following another sport. It's very special.
Listen, if we have if Rabbi Ari Lamb, who by the way is going to grace the Teaneck Shari Tefillah community, of which I'm part of, I'm really excited for Rabbi Ari Lamb Scholar in Residence weekend. Which again, by the time this is all over, we may get this topic somewhere in there. But you're like the rabbinic intern of the group, so we're really excited. Having this happen. You add some, again, real holiness and specialness to it. So we appreciate we know you're following. Like whether you have the time, you're a busy man. You're working on behalf of Klal Yisrael, so we're really excited about it. But D3 Hoops World. I listen. I'm on Twitter, and almost everything in my is like about this. It's just. Whether it's talking about the fact that the Macs did cover the spread, because although I think on a forfeit, there's like an automatic, like, you lose.
So is it going to be a forfeit is the question. I think we're trying to figure out how the game is going to be, scored, if it's going to be like just no game played at all, or just a forfeit for one team or the other. The question is, who is the one that made the game be canceled? I think there are all these questions that need to be answered before we can figure out what's going to be happening with the playoffs. And like you said, we're not going to speculate, but
I think we're seeing official word of a forfeit, right? That's I think we're seeing. We've seen things about canceled. I will tell you that we're seeing, and I'll pull it up or try to find where that came through, but we are seeing word of a forfeit. I'm not sure if that's in releasing of the schedule for the playoffs. Remember, this is not like it's not like it's a long turnaround. It's like a week and a half break, waiting for the tournament to start.
Right.
The Skyline Conference tournament starts Tuesday night for everybody, right? So all 8 teams that are in the playoffs are going to be playing Tuesday night. So this is going to be just
So even if the game's going to be rescheduled, it's going to be rescheduled in the next couple of days, if anything. If
yeah, I have a very, again, this is, I don't know. We don't know, but I have a very hard time believing that there's going to be a reschedule on this. I think the opportunity to play, if it's not going to be, meaning if it's not happening right now in conversation, which we have no, again, repeat, and I'll say it over and over again, we have no information on that whatsoever. But if it's not going to be played in the original time tomorrow, Sunday, I don't think either team, again, in pure fairness to either team, regardless of the situation that took place, to play, no one's going to play back to back, right? And so unless they're pushing out the playoff schedule, I don't see a situation.
And I can't imagine that happening.
Everything is cascading, right? It goes
it's a big ripple effect, obviously.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a big ripple effect in how the games will be played anyway. So, like you said, unless it's going to be tomorrow, same time, it's not going to happen before Tuesday.
Yeah, it's like the doctor's waiting room. Meaning, if we get late on one patient, everybody gets pushed. Meaning, it's not just the Skyline tournament. We have Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Actually, if YU's not in the championship, but Sunday, I believe, if YU is in the championship, maybe for reasons that are around what happened tonight, and timing. But ultimately, once that Sunday, Saturday night game happens, the winner, right, knowing that likely Skyline will not have any Pool C contenders. Sorry, YU, and Bob, but you're going to have that first game is going to be, Thursday or Friday. I think it's typically a Friday, Saturday situation. So, again, you're prepping 4 or 5 days. I think that the brackets will come out that Sunday, or latest Monday. So again, you don't have much time to prep for the first two opponents that you have. So nothing's going to push because it'll just push everything down that path, and that's why it's hard to see a situation in which this is going to be change the schedule or reschedule or something here.
So if you had to take a wild guess, what do you think is going to happen? Obviously, no speculation, but what do you think would happen based on what we know, which is not much. Keep that in mind.
Not much. So, and again, I think we're and I appreciate the thank you guys for the notes in the chat. Farmingdale's website, right, has the forfeit, right? So they have it on their schedule as a forfeit. So again, there's some official places where that's happening. Maybe someone wants to check and see if the YU website has the same, has corresponded.
I'll check it now, actually.
Yeah, we can look at that schedule and see if YU has there.
It says that the game is scheduled to be played at 8:30 p.m.
Right, tonight. So
correct.
Again, the YU website has not been updated with any information. It seems like the Farmingdale website has been. Again, these are all just the reality is here. And again, we can't. There's nothing to talk about because again, it doesn't help to speculate in that regard. I think what's going to happen is, from a Skyline playoff standpoint, is the seeding is going to stay where it is. That's my contention here, is that it's I don't know how quickly they can get this resolved. If YU even has a claim on the matter, it doesn't matter. I think that's where, again, that will work itself out. That part will.
Right. It's a moot point at this point because, unless, like we said, unless they play tomorrow, it's not going to happen. And the preparation for that to happen, is not just one and done. You make it happen the moment you want it to.
Right. So that is a moot point, as they would say on, the conference playoff schedule we're getting has been released also. So there's a lot happening. And I guess, we finally, listen, we're not speculating, but we can finally share a little bit of I guess what's happening here, and then talk about it and take your comments, and hopefully we can continue to see the comments going on. But what we are getting word, and I'll just read straight from Dave McHugh, again, like I was saying in Hoopsville. Everyone has to know this is a man with incredible integrity and incredible knowledge, not just of the D3 game, but the rules, regulations. Again, announcer, he's involved in many things, and he really understands the sport. He just shared. I'll read it straight to you so you can hear it if you don't see it in front of you. Breaking: Yeshiva at Farmingdale State men's basketball game was called due to apparently a disagreement between the schools about warm-up time. Sources tell me there was meaning Dave, not me, that there was an agreement there would be 60 minutes for warm-up and pregame clock. Wouldn't start until YU stepped on the court. So that's the first part. He continues to go on. So just let's get that there, and we'll come back to talk about it. But pregame agreement, 60 minutes from whenever they arrive to start the clock again. Now it goes on to say sources say 60-minute pregame clock had started before Yeshiva got there. YU asked for the time to be reset. The request was denied by Farmingdale, but unsure who specifically. Game is pivotal.
That's crucial. That's crucial.
Game would be pivotal. The winner would be top seed in this conference playoffs. Obviously, this game is for all the marbles in terms of and listen, everything plays out on the court, right? So you can't judge these things on paper. But if you think about the 3 seed playing St. Joe's at hosting St. Joe's and then potentially traveling to Manhattanville, right? Then that is a tough road, right? If you think about it the other way, being hosting Mount St. Mary's, then hosting for a second home game, and obviously the third home game if you get that far, the championship, but a second home game against either Maritime or US MMA. Again, it's a big difference in what has in front of him. So I'll keep reading. Last piece he shared is why you left campus once Sabbath ended. Again, so this is his quote. So warm-up time was important to them to be prepared for the game, right? I mean, these guys weren't getting ready before Shabbos, right? Like they weren't playing ball, they weren't doing these things, right? They come.
As a rabbinic intern, I might add that Hachana is an Ister Derabanan on Shabbos, which is why they were not preparing for the game before Shabbos.
Yeah, so and that's a great point, right? Like if people want to know, hey guys, why weren't they stretching? Why weren't they? They knew they had a game, that kind of thing. So I think for our viewers who may not know, it's very important in terms of maintaining the sanctity of the Sabbath, right? And the laws around Sabbath prevent, what Avi's saying is they prevent you from preparing for whatever you're going to do for after the Sabbath. It's treated as a separate day, and therefore you can't on Sabbath prepare for what's happening later. So you couldn't, stretch, and you couldn't do those things again because you'd be preparing for an event that's happening after. So really, once the Sabbath ends, that's the time it happens. So the last thing he says, it's not clear if why you actually forfeited. Right, a forfeit doesn't incur an NCAA unless refs have taken the court. It doesn't seem they had. Right, it could be.
I found that interesting because in that case, who called the forfeit? Because if it wasn't the refs,
so that may be why we're seeing a difference, right, between what's on the YU site versus what's on the site. Again, it may
Farmingdale called the forfeit. It seems like.
Right, it may be that the conference. We're hearing that the conference has released the playoff schedule. It may very well be that the conference. Called the forfeit. Again, I don't know. We do not know if the conference is right on site, right, or where that call was made, or who has the ability to do that. Again, we thank Dave McHugh and others again who have had the conversations for able to sharing at least this amount. So let's talk about that specifically, right? Let's talk about what we know, right? What was shared. This is new information that's being shared in a public way. Which is there was a few things, right? Big piece. There was an agreement to give YU 60 minutes from when they set foot on the court. That agreement, seemingly as it's reported here, did not happen. The clock started before they got there. YU felt, and I'll talk about that in a second, just from a player preparation standpoint. But YU felt that the 60 minutes was needed, which is probably why they agreed to it in the first place, right? That's why they stipulated they needed that, and that. And it was worth, whether it's worth for, again, I'm not going to get into whether it's worth forfeiting, and I'm sure there are many opinions because this is a big game. It doesn't matter, right? The point is the people who are responsible for making those decisions, not just about the game, but on behalf of the health of student athletes, right? That the prep time is not just about, let me get my shot ready. Like it's not about
formality. It's not a formality. It's not
kids will play anytime. It's not about that. It's about their health, right? Like you stretch, you do all the things you need to do. To be both mentally and physically prepared for a game. The warm-up time is crucial. I'll tell you that, both as an athlete, but both what you see in professional sports, in amateur sports, it's crucial for the game. You don't want to be, if you're tight going out into a game and then playing at game speed, that is how you get injured, right? That's how injuries happen. So from that standpoint, the preparation is really, really important. And you can understand why, even though what seems like 10, 15, 20, 40 minutes is really important in this conversation.
Agreed. And I think it's interesting because I think from the start, it made sense that the game would be on Sunday because then you wouldn't have to worry about, leaving the second Shabbos end to, make it to Long Island and then try to warm up from there. I think Sunday is easier for everybody because you have time to wake up. You have time to eat a good breakfast and then get to, the court and, stretch and have a good warm up. So I think that is why I think the Sunday Tefillah, why I got moved to Saturday night. I guess we're obviously not involved in that decision, but it makes sense that why you would ideally want the game to be on Sunday instead of Saturday night.
Yeah. So I think there was not. Listen, forget about the game, but in general, Saturday night games, right? As it starts to get a little bit later, right, or a little bit tough. I mean, for reference, Sabbath, ended, around between, again, there are many different times, just so viewers are aware. For the most part, right, it's within 20, 30 minutes of each other. But Sabbath, some people can end Sabbath, anywhere as early as what's like an hour and 10 minutes, 72 minutes after sundown, to some people hold a little bit longer. So even by let's take a 90-minute or 90 to 100-minute piece here, Sabbath ended close to 6:30, 6:45. So getting from wherever you are with all the players from wherever they were for the Sabbath to the game, they knew it was going to be a logistical challenge, right? That wasn't, that's a reality, right? So I think it's important, and probably why you needed the 60 minutes, because they knew that was going to be something. And I believe we had heard even before the game, because I was at the women's game, as I mentioned, we had heard that the game may have been moved back, right? At some point, the game was called for 8:30 tonight's game. In terms of just
really
logistically speaking, I believe, at least, again, we don't know if this was the officials moving it back or official word, but the actual Max Live broadcast, I believe, went from 8:30 to 8:45 to even 9 o'clock, I think, on the schedule. So don't know how far it went back. There was obviously an understanding that there was going to be a time issue, and don't know what it means logistically, right? There's sort of many things that came up. I don't know how long they can, push the game or whatever it is. But listen, the right people will sort this out, right? The right people will figure this out. The right people will make sure. And either way, listen, there's probably going to be a home playoff game on Tuesday. Let's get out and celebrate Max playoff basketball. Let's celebrate Adar the right way. All right, I even heard some Misha chants, premature Misha Nichnas at the women's game, which was great. Loved the fans. It was great to see how many fans came out for that. So, it was really, really exciting. And we'll see what takes place. We'll talk probably a little bit, hopefully have a show before even the Tuesday game to come to be. I don't know if there are any questions here to bring up. I see a lot happening in the chat, so I'm gonna go check that out. Again, it's a little hard for me to do with the multiple screens, but I'm gonna check out just to see what we got going on in the chat here.
When do you think the D3 dunk contest is going to be? I heard the NBA one was pretty good for a under 6 foot guy. It could be pretty helpful for a YU guy to be under 6 feet and dunking. I
totally didn't pay attention. But did McClung win tonight? Does that mean
McClung won?
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I remember
seeing
him in college, so I love it. So yeah, some people asking in the chat, just in terms of if the game was canceled, what seed do we get? It's just an interesting thing to talk about. I don't know. I wish we probably need Ariel or Shua or somewhere on here, to be able to talk to the fact of like what happens if it's actually a cancellation, right? Meaning if the game is canceled, right, and therefore it's not forfeited, it's played again. Like I said, we don't know anything. But if it's canceled instead of forfeited, right? Because you talk about, right, probably no time to play the game, right? But it could be canceled instead of forfeited. What's interesting in that situation is that it wouldn't, at least in my estimation, it wouldn't really change anything, because Farmingdale has already won the first game against YU this season. So even with currently, right, they have the same record, so they would win on a tiebreak, and it would still be the same 1-3 situation.
Which is crazy, because if you think about it, it makes sense for them to not want to play YU again for that reason. Listen, I don't want to be a big speculator here. But I will say that it makes sense for YU to want to play the game. It's not like a fortification from YU's end, like they'd be happy just to get 60 minutes of warm-up time to get to play. Farmingdale's like, listen, if we don't play the game, it doesn't affect us, because we still have the tiebreaker against YU. So I don't think it's speculating, but fill in the blank. It's all I'm saying. It's not, I can be the hot take guy. I had to be the hot take guy. Yatsa Weatherspoh.
It is. Listen, yeah. If we were pulling apart the crime scene here, right, and saying who's let's get the motive, right. The motive is a really important part, right, of the issue. So obviously, but I just listen, I've been there in this situation, not in this particular situation, but I think, listen, athletes want to play, right? Athletes want to prove it on the court. And I think if that was the situation, right, like I can't imagine, really honestly, I can't imagine Farmingdale's players, being comfortable with, what happened, in the sense of just they want to play,
It's
right?
probably not coming from the players though. That's not like it's usually the player's decision to forfeit a game or not. It's probably coming from
Right.
someone else.
Nobody asked them. Trust
Right.
me. No, I'm sure, again, that is speculation as well, but I don't think anybody asked the players what they want to do. It's not about that, right? Like, and there's a reason why. The people that make the decisions, right, are trusted to make those decisions, and all the power to them to do that, right? I think it's really important for the teams, the fan bases, the operations to support the decisions that were made, and to not like imagine a situation that this could change anything. Because the truth is, like, you still got to win, right? Whether you're hosting, whether you're not hosting, wherever you're seated, you got to win the next 3 games, right? If
But
you
my
want
question
to,
is,
you got to
if
win.
YU won the first matchup between Farmingdale, do you think it would have been a forfeit tonight?
Again, it's pure speculation. No idea, but definitely Farmingdale. I can easily see, right. Farmingdale would have much more reason to play the game, right? Although, again, if it's a forfeit, then it doesn't matter, right? Because a forfeit's a win.
Right.
So again, you still go ahead. So it doesn't make that much of a difference. I just think that, like, it's like I said, I don't as a putting on the player's hat for a second. I don't think the Farmingdale players wanted to go out there and beat a YU team they'd already beaten, right? And the YU team wanted to go out there and say, we're in a different, we're a different team right now. You didn't play the same team last time, and we're going to go out and we're going to beat you, and we're going to not only we're going to beat you, but that puts us mentally ahead, right? Because the coolest thing for me, at least as a fan, right? The coolest thing, and again, for those who have been to Farmingdale's gym, it is a huge, huge gym in terms of accommodation. Like, you go to different gyms, like, you'll see, we play Manhattanville, and we have a crowd that goes there compared to what's available. Right? Manhattanville has sort of like, small group of stands on the main floor, and then some upstairs. Farmingdale is just huge. It's huge, and it can accommodate a significant amount of people. I just, for me, it's like, what happens if we play in the championship? Like, we're playing at Farmdale in the championship. I remember the championship game from a couple of years ago, a few years back. Again, that was fire. This is going to be, even more so. That's why I think it's really important to, again, to tamper down, speculation, to tamper down any bad blood, to tamper down any theories, because again, we may get them again, right? And we don't want to be stirring a pot that's already going to be hot. It's already going to be, right, like I said, already going to be fire, and we want the players to leave it out there on the court. So this is going to be. I hope I don't know if anyone stayed out there. It would be nice to see if anybody stayed from a fan standpoint. I actually really hope and actually feel for in all of this, right? It was senior night. So I feel for the seniors and hope they were able to get their senior night, or have agreements, right, to have their senior night when they host the first round.
I mean, like you said, it was not a player's decision. The players would have been more than happy to play. The players would have been more than happy, especially the seniors, to get their senior honors. Like, this doesn't happen unless there is a real decision to be made that is not coming from the players. And it's funny. I see a great tweet from Simi Cohen, at Simi_Cohen. Next year when Farmingdale visits YU fans, next year when Farmingdale visits YU fans, you can sing Shabbos songs like Yismasu B'Machusfa. And I think, like, it's great. I think it's important to show them, like, the importance of Shabbos. And listen, if they can get inspired, like, if they would come on this NC Shabbos run right now, they'd be so inspired, and they'll start the game right now at 12:14 a.m.
Exactly. Well, let's play the game. Let's play, right. Like, I've been, even at professional sporting, again, that's that we're scheduled for a certain time and started in the wee hours of the morning due to rain or whatever circumstances. But this is the first time I can remember this situation happening. In any sport to a team. I know there have been games, even in terms of, there's been games for tragedy, obviously, with the COVID situation, and things that have been canceled and forfeited for,
like, Bengals
for other reasons. But this is impressive. We do have a comment in the chat that they did have their senior night, so it's good to hear. Obviously, it's different, but it's really, really, like, again, my heart goes out to the play. I think the players wanted to play on both sides, right? So, that I just say that not for the sense that they should have played. Like, let's be clear, it's not about whether they should have played. It's about the fact that they both sort of earn that right, and they're going to get that right because they get to have the playoffs, right? It doesn't end here. I think everybody, worrying about, the decision, and they should have played and they shouldn't have played. And I get it. Listen, if I'm a parent, if I'm whatever, if I drove out there, if I'm just a fan, right, I may think certain things, but it's really about the players, the player safety. All those things are more important, especially of where they are in the season, right? You got to win 3, whether you're doing it on the road, whether you're doing it at home, if you want to make the NCAA tournament, and that's what's going to happen. YU is going to have that opportunity. to win 3, to win the first game at home, and then likely 2 on the road. Although, hey, remember last year? We got to host all of them. So, because there were some upsets, right, in the first round and the second round, we got to host every game. So you never know how it plays out. Skyline is really, really competitive. Again, like I said, I don't expect the Farmingdale game to be competitive with Mount St. Mary's, but you never know. They actually played Maritime incredibly tough the other night and took that game. So you never know what's going to end up happening. I think it was Maritime, I'm pretty sure. So you never know how people are going to come out, how they're going to play. But really the 2-7, the 3-6, and 4-5 matchups should be spectacular. I know I will be making every endeavor to be at YU on Tuesday night. Starting off Adar, right? Marbin Basimcha. We're hoping, I think that's the beautiful thing about being at a YU game, especially in Adar, is that it is Marbin Basimcha regardless of the outcome, and with the outcome that we're expecting and hoping for, it'll be even greater. A lot of happiness, a lot of excitement that'll be spreading throughout the stands and throughout the campus.
But I think the best part is that, I remember like even 5 years ago that these games weren't nearly as exciting because we knew that we didn't really have a shot to win the Skyline. And now every single year, we know that we're in it. We know that there are going to be fun games. The players are in it to win. And it's a very different vibe than it was 5-6 years ago. And I think that alone, the fact that we're able to, get YU fans to be invested the way that they've never been before, I think it's a really incredible thing to see.
I agree. I wonder, and I think that's what we have to talk about, right? I wonder what player mentality, and I think that's the beautiful thing about our coaching staff and the team itself, right? And their commitment is that, you basically, you have these guys who have to be ready, right, to play Tuesday night. If they're still thinking about this, then that's a problem, right? Meaning, this is where they have to get to mentally, right? And so hopefully we'll see that come out on Tuesday. So hopefully that's good. I think we'll switch gears. I just want to share a little bit. I know the YU women literally played their hearts out tonight. Oh no, it's amazing. All right,
He's back.
Now it's a show.
Oh, sorry.
Now it's a show. We got Jack J. Terrell.
What did I miss? What
What do you miss? Are you walking right now in Long Island? What's happening? Were you waiting for a game to start?
Doesn't matter where I am. It matters where y'all are. All that matters is I'm furious. I am crossed. At this whole thing, I'm crossed. Because, look, I'm assuming we all talked about the cancellation of the game.
What cancellation? What happened?
So, exactly. So, I initially, as a guy who grew up a little bit more modern, I initially came off of it very upset. And my take was, at the time, was that, as Jewish people, we oftentimes have to deal with, some not as much time on the clock as the next guy, especially in the workforce and in life. And we have to make compromises, that other people won't make with us due to our faith. So I was of the belief initially that, I thought we should have played. But then Rav Ari Lam really pointed out to me, you're thinking really small. Like, we've had to suffer for 3,000 years. No more. Like, why should we have to compromise that? What we did is our faith. This is the root. This is a 3,000-year tradition. And maybe I'm not making the point across, and someone could cut me off, but no, I'm proud of what Steinmetz did tonight. I thought it took a stance. We don't compromise on our beliefs, and we shouldn't have to be subjugated to a compromise based on our failing our beliefs.
Yeah, what I'll say, and here, what I'll say is this, and I think it's really important. And we touched upon a little bit, but I think to put it in that perspective is really important. We don't know, right? We don't know the details behind the scenes. What I know is that point is valid no matter what, right? Like, it doesn't matter what happened, right? The point that it's almost, by the way, it's like it's if any of that was the reason, or even if it's not the reason, right? But if the projection, right, and the value, as we were talking before about, like, you can't even prepare for it before Shabbos, right? There are all these rules and other things that come into it, right? You can't prepare for the game on Shabbos. So everything happens right at the time that the Sabbath is over, right? Once that happens, right? So what this tells us, right, is that this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity for Kiddush Hashem to show others how valuable that is to us, regardless of what that reason is. So whether it played in or didn't play in, again, I think the details will come out in terms of that. But what we do know, at least what was communicated out by Dave McHugh, in the sense of there was supposed to be more time on the clock and there wasn't, whether that was due to Sabbath, to traffic, to other things, it doesn't matter. But the point that the Sabbath itself is something that it doesn't matter at what level of sports competition, work, or whatever it is, the priority is on, right? My favorite quote of all time, and again, I don't even know who to attribute to, but I believe the quote is, right, more than the Jews have kept the Sabbath has kept the Jews. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time. What? Who is it?
Amazing.
That's amazing. So like for me, it's like that's one of my that's probably one of my favorite quotes. Definitely there. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's there because it's true, right? Like meaning it's about what Sabbath means to the community. It's about what Sabbath represents. And it's not just an idea, right? It's a practice, right? It's a practice. It's being able to come together. It's being able to take that, time off to shut down and really reconnect with God. And anything that would come in the way with that, right, or cause you to worry about other things that are maybe happening outside or after, really gets in the way of that enjoyment and that ability to reconnect and recharge. So I think it's important. I mean, you guys remember, Jack, you may have been there, right? The stories that we hear, I think Elliot talked to us about like, the NCAA tournament a few years ago, right? In the COVID shortened season, and the fact that like nobody had any clue what went on, Friday, and they totally tuned out. They totally tuned out, and they were still able to come out and win that game Saturday night. Like, but they like the what I focused on was the conversation about Shabbos, right? That Shabbos they spent together, really totally tuning out and really being together. That to me was the most impressive thing, is like really respecting and showing them, like even in the biggest moment, that by far was the biggest moment in program history, in program history, and them still to be able to say, you know what, we know who we are and we know what we represent and we know what's important to us. That to me blew me away when talking to both Coach Steinmetz and players about that. And Jack, I really appreciate you bringing that up, because the opportunity to really sanctify the Sabbath in the eyes of ourselves, listeners, but also to educate and really help people understand, like, it doesn't matter what, right? Like all this boils down to, basketball when it's in the face of things that are really important.
And not only that, I think one of the reasons that team was so successful was their ability to tune it all out. Their dedication to celebrating Shabbos together, and especially that weekend, I think was a big catalyst for their success.
Definitely strong, right up here, right? That's it's huge, right? It's really cool when it comes to the togetherness of the team. I'd heard that they may have actually been together this weekend, but I'm not sure if everybody was there or they were together or where they were coming from. But again, I think the more stories like that, the better, because it's really just awesome to see. It's not just about, like everyone talks about, right? You don't just show up on the court and magically play well together, right? It takes the chemistry and the time together and really getting to know each other to really get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they've been playing a different kind of offense lately, right? You've seen that a little bit more, a little bit stronger in terms of the way they've been playing. I mean, obviously Oren and others, shooting lights out. So they're really hitting, whether it's their peak, I'm not sure, because again, it's a young team, but they're really hitting on all cylinders going into Tuesday night, Jack. Tuesday night, Adar, first of Adar, Tuesday night, playoffs.
I get it, and I am excited for it. Having said all that we're saying, it is that I feel not the same level of this disappointment. I just feel a little disappointment, because you don't get the bitter. I get we did the right thing, and I'm with it that we did the right thing. But I can't help but be human and feel like we didn't get the bitterness of defeat and the sweetness of victory. We didn't get either of that on a game that, I had marked on my calendar for 3 months, and now that's just me speaking as a fan. So I'm disappointed, and I'm not shocked. Farmingdale has had a history of being.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Can you elaborate?
Oh man, I should I go off? They've had a history of not being the most good.
Let's just say
Yeah,
they may play it more by the book than some other teams.
they're an
They're more
organization that
Heimish. Is that what you're saying? They're more Heimish.
they've had a
Whatever the
history
opposite of that
of
is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like they're less Heimish than we need.
whatever. You know what I'm trying to say without me having to say it
Exactly,
publicly.
exactly. No, we know that like again
So,
they're
I
I
mean,
would say they're slower on the learning of the traditions. I would say they're slower on the
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying they're a school that likes to get one over on yeshiva. This wouldn't be the first time that they tried some shtick. They tried some shtick with the bar aloof stuff, I think. Rumor has it. I wouldn't know.
I mean,
But,
Jack, I mentioned it before. Yeah, like Farmingdale, it only benefited them not to play. If YU would have won the first game of the matchup, and then the first game against them this season, I think they would have been playing no matter what tonight because for them,
of course,
beating YU,
of course, and of course they don't pull that shtick. If YU had beaten them and YU had the 1 seed, no matter what, they don't pull that shtick.
that's why I'm pulling out my hot takes here. I'm just saying. Also, fun fact: anytime someone is just saying, they're never just saying. They want to say it explicitly, but they know they can't say it explicitly. So I am just saying. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm just saying.
But Jack, listen, as a think
I'm a little bittersweet. I have to
no,
go
for sure. But think back to the playing days, right? Think back to the playing days and just tell me because I think what's really important is because listen, what you're feeling, what we're feeling, what the fans are feeling, right? In that reality, and we appreciate sort of the honest take. I guarantee you the players are feeling too, right? And part of the coaching staff's job is to get them to focus Tuesday night. So how do they get to the place Tuesday night where they if they're still thinking about this Tuesday night, right? That's not good.
That's not good.
How do they get to that place? How do they get to that place?
So this really relies on the coaching staff. If it is true, however it got decided, and we back it up, but it's up to the coaching staff for all of the players to be focused in for Tuesday's game. Because you got to remember, you got a lot of freshmen on that team. You got a lot of sophomores. You don't have a lot of guys who've been there before. So this really relies on, and even the captains, also limited time. One of Zucker's years was the 7-game thing, so it'll be on the coaching staff and the captains to really rally this team, focus this team, get behind a message, whether that message is I agree with our decision and we're going to use to it, or the message is I didn't agree, but I am using this anger to focus and destroy Long Island, or whether the message is something completely different. But everyone on the team has to get behind a message, but that message has to be focused on destroying Long Island on Tuesday.
Three games. Three games. You got to win it anyways, right? I mean, you got to win 3 games, whether you're hosting, whether you're on the road, whoever you're playing to get to the NCAA tournament. You got to win those 3 games. I think it's. I'll make a comparison, which I think is as you were talking, as Avi was mentioning. I think it reminds me. It's kind of it's bittersweet, but think about this in the mindset of the guys who basically had their season canceled, right? Right before RMC, right? They were about to be there. They were Randolph-Macon. They were getting ready to play. Season canceled, right? There is no next game, right? But for this team, right? This, if you're a player and you were ready to go, right? You do have Tuesday night, right? And hopefully Thursday night and Sunday to follow to really get that, to get that experience. So, thank God this time around, there are games that follow, and the destiny that we hold is still in our control.
Very true.
Should we get? I'm wondering if Ryan Terrell is up. He's probably asleep, but I would love to get his take.
Is he the guy that's still in the YU team? Is he still playing for YU these days?
Does Ryan Terrell still play for YU these days?
Yeah, I'm not keeping track. He's pretty good last year, wasn't he? I think he's pretty good last year.
He was pretty good last year.
He was decent.
Yeah, he was all right.
These freshmen come in. It's awesome. See, and that's what I said. I think we went into this game talking about how just fortunate the program is to have the people at its helm, and the team and the replenishment to be able to be at this place, right? To be 12-3 in the conference, right? To be basically tied for first in the conference going into this game. So let's not take away from an amazing season let's not take away there. I think we were about to, just before you got on, Jack, to pivot, because I know it's late at night for folks. But we're going to pivot and just share just the take. I was at the women's game. I was actually out there with AJ was out there from the YU staff. He's amazing.
So how we do?
It was quite a game. It was quite a game. It was one quarter really that made it quite difficult. I think they probably had their most views because after what the men were canceled, we had about 40-50 fans there, and then I know people were watching, but it was outside of it, they started the game off great, played incredible defense, and really held. It was 11-3 at the end of the first quarter, and then just went on a 10-minute stint between the first quarter and second quarter where they didn't score, but also stopped doing what got them the lead and the defense they were playing in the first quarter, which was really playing a half court defense and not allowing, not gambling and not allowing, because talent wise, I think they were better than the team they played tonight. And when they stuck to that and played just a half court and didn't try to hit the home run or didn't try to go for double and steal, it was good times. And when they didn't, and they let transition happen and they let open shots happen because they were gambling, they got rocked 20-4 in that second quarter, and they never recovered for it. So they were only down 8 at halftime. They ended up tying the game at 42. But that was really, so I guess they did recover from it, but it was really, outside of that second quarter, they were winning 41-31 and really should have taken that game. It's a shame, but that team is fantastic. The players are fantastic. And right now, everybody, as far as I know, in terms of the core of the team, everybody is set to come back, hopefully with some more players, some recruits that have been coming in. We do, have a little bit of hope. Hopefully, it'll get clear. The only sort of senior that could be graduating is Daniela Rothman, but she can go Gabe if she wants, and play. Continue to play. Obviously, with the COVID year that she got, but she has to. She'll figure that out. But really, those women really just they inspire a lot. It's pretty tremendous. Ryan, people want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I got to say, hats off to the coaching staff for the Max women's basketball team. It only takes one season, to turn a program around. It only takes one player. It takes one season to turn a program around. So, and I have one coach. And so I want to give a shout out to their coaching staff for putting together this excellent roster and an excellent season. And I look forward to more future successful season with the Max women's basketball team.
It's gonna be awesome. I mean, I think you're right. It's not even about sometimes a win or a loss, right? We even know what the loss at York did for the YU men's program, right? So people seeing the exposure that they got through that, seeing that there's an opportunity to really play and show it. Jack, I was thinking, speaking of Ryan, someone asked in the chat if the G League has a dunk contest, right? Can we? They were like, let's get some G League players up there for 3-point contest and dunk contest. Are you eligible, right? Because you're part of the pro.
I think first off, I was very impressed with Mac McClung tonight. He was my pick. The thing was, when NBA players go up to the contest, they're all too cool, especially the dunk contest ones. They're making millions. They haven't made. There isn't that level of rider. When Mac McClung walked up, you just saw it in his eyes. You saw it in his body language. Tonight was the night to make his name. He did not look too cool for school, and he was incredible. Breathtaking performance.
That's awesome. I really can't wait to watch it. I'm so happy they replayed it about 77 times, so I'm really excited to watch the replay. It's funny because we were talking actually about McClung on Thursday night, knowing that he was coming in and just watching him. I mean, I loved watching him in college, and so just to see him make that play, that's fantastic. I love it when the smaller guys get up there, even though they're not so. He's not small. I'm NBA size wise.
So at NBA, I'm hoping we allow G League guys to join the 3-point contest, and Ryan Terrell, I think, would be a prime candidate.
Yeah, I think although the fans, I'm sure, want to see other things, and and they remember the alley-oop that will live on forever. I think I'd rather see the 3-point contest. Take Ryan than necessarily the dunk contest, but you never know.
Ryan actually came in second place.
Fly or something like that, but we can get it going.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Ryan did come in second in a high school dunk contest.
I saw that one. I think he was robbed. I think he was robbed.
I thought he was robbed too. I agree. What happened was he did all his good dunks in the beginning. His best dunks were he got outlasted in the final round basically because he did the 360 windmill, he did the jump over the guy, and then there was like a final round where the other guy did something better. But I agree, he was robbed.
I like I
He
what
should've
he did.
won.
I mean, that was just a pure like again. Even though the cumulative, I know it's not the scoring, but like in totality, he was the better performer, and it was like this. It was razor thin, but it was awesome. It was really cool to see, and he was like a very skinny Ryan back then. G League
Yeah.
Ryan, I think may have eaten that Ryan.
G League Ryan would have definitely eaten that Ryan. If you see Ryan these days, big boy. He beats the crud out of me every time we see each other. He's like, remember the time you kicked me off the PlayStation, big brother? And I'm like, oh, no.
He didn't forget that. He didn't forget that time. He definitely didn't forget it.
Now he kicks me off my PlayStation. He just beats me up.
No, it's
And
definitely
he's great. Look, I'm really proud of the Lady Macs, of the Macs women's basketball team, and I'm looking forward to their season next year.
They're gonna be tremendous. And to think, right, like again, it's almost lost because it happened at the very end of a lopsided game, or it turned out lopsided. Same thing in terms of fourth quarter. 2 games ago, when Yuval became the all-time leading Max women's scorer, right? And so coming into tonight's game, she was already the all-time leading scorer, and then having another year to be able to really extend that, it's unbelievable. She's gonna end up finishing a few hundred points ahead of this player, and that's the best thing, right? Like it just sets the stage for the next person, right? Just pass that baton. But we're really excited, not just for a playoff run next year, but really to be at the top of the conference. I think with the experience they had this year, you're going to start to see with the experience, honestly, of the coaching staff. I think they're going to understand what it takes. But Jack, I really can't thank you enough for dropping by. I really, I hope you get to wherever you're going, because it's, I don't know if anybody told you, like, I know it's 9:30, California time, but it's getting a little late out here.
Yeah, exactly. It is. I was going to drive all the way out to Long Island, so we'll say that's where I'm going out. But I'm getting a midnight slip.
You're hoping the game's still going to happen. Yeah, as we all are.
I still have hope. Oh man, I still have hope.
No, listen, I think
excited
that's the beautiful thing. The game is going to happen. Can you imagine, just like for a second, just imagine YU at Farmingdale for the ship in a week from tomorrow, a week from today. Now,
if that happens, I'm walking in with a mask so nobody knows it's me, and I'm ripping my shirt off. I'm putting YU on the smack middle of my chest. No one's gonna know, but you'll know if you watch the ball button. I'm going nuts for YU.
That gym, I really like. Again, got to get through these games, but there is nothing I'd rather see right now than that game next. A week from Sunday. God willing. So I'm telling you, I'm like, that is going to be off of the hook. Like, it'll be like nothing I've ever seen before. And I hope that it's everyone knows that it's about safety, right? It's about, like, again, go crazy for your team, but respect everybody that's out there. And hopefully we'll keep seeing that at the MSAC with the spirit of Adar coming to us starting Monday night with Rosh Chodesh, but starting Adar on Tuesday night with Max playoff basketball. Right now hosting St. Joe's Long Island, and we'll hopefully get together for a preview. Appreciate you, Jack. Appreciate Avi, who was on before. Appreciate all the fans who were listening.
We appreciate that, Tom.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing, dude.
The MVP, that's big brother there, baby.
It's gonna be amazing. Let's keep it going. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll be back probably in less than 24 hours to talk some Max basketball with maybe some more information.